JK Rowling has basically exposed on social media that she has received enough death threats to paper her house after trans activists staged a protest outside her home and put photos on social media revealing her home address. She has had numerous rape and murder threats since she spoke out on, well, not trans issues, simply on women's issues, women's rights and women's safety as well. People have tried to cancel her. They've tried to get her publishing career ended, to no avail. But now she has said she will absolutely not be intimidated out of speaking up for women's sex-based rights, and has said that, perhaps, I'm just throwing this out there, she says, the best way to prove your movement isn't a threat to women is to stop stalking, harassing and threatening us. Well, let's talk about this with Debbie Hayton, who's a journalist and science teacher and joins us now. Good morning to you, Debbie.
Morning, Julia.
Now, you yourself are living as a trans woman, and you've been someone who's spoken out many, many times against this extremist trans activism that in no way represents trans people as a community or as individuals. They're self-appointed, many of them not even trans themselves. But the idea that JK Rowling is A, a transphobe, and B, is deserving of death threats and should have her home address published online to encourage people to do so. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's nonsense. JK Rowling is not a transphobe. She's just had the audacity to speak out in support of women's rights, and for that she's been treated appallingly. These three characters in Scotland are just the latest in a long line. The police need to investigate that and take what action they want. But what concerns me is that this has been going on now for over a year, and leaders in society are just not taking a position of leadership. Yeah. They're leaving this debate to run itself. We need leaders to stand up and say it's wrong for people to intimidate women in the way that it's been going on. It's not just JK Rowling, there's other women as well that we could name, but this has been an attack on women. And as a trans person, what I see here is that other trans people are being used as a shield for what is effectively misogyny.
Well, this is it, isn't it? You say, and I will mention some of the other people. It's Labour MPs, it's SNP MPs, it's Maya forced out of a job, Kathleen Stock hounded out of a university job. This doesn't just happen to some very famous wealthy people. And JK Rowling made the point in her a very long thread she wrote about how how this is happening to other people who don't have her power and don't have her ability to protect herself, to afford security, and obviously you make sure the police act and protect her. And it's absolutely terrifying for people. And it is really noticeable, the people who speak out on this issue, who never utter a single word against trans people at all, certainly nothing you could ever construe as transphobic, but simply refuse to say that trans women are women, or to say that that they believe that that women, that sex-based rights-based things like women's prisons, refuges, changing rooms, sport and the like should be based on your sex, your actual biology, rather than on the identity you choose to live by. That they are facing extraordinary abuse, censorship. I've been threatened a number of times with having my social media account on Twitter being taken down, people making a huge number of complaints when I've never uttered anything transphobic. I know that because I don't think anything transphobic, but simply for saying these things. But it's always women who are targeted. It's very rarely the men who say exactly the same words, who write exactly the same tweets. They are not targeted by these activists, which says there is something else going on, doesn't it?
Well, they're not, and you're not the first journalist to have pointed that out. I think it was James Kirkup mentioned it quite some time ago, that he could write things, and if Janice Turner wrote the same things, Janice Turner would come under attack for saying it. So it's not what's being said, it's who's saying it. That's the issue.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's no doubt at all that what has happened, I mean, it's against the social media rules. You're not to put people's personal details online. It is against the law to make threats. So that is already covered. But it's about people being wary that the law won't protect them. It's about people feeling that they're going to be hounded out of their jobs or their lives, or out of polite society. They're going to be called this. On the other side of this coin, some people might welcome this move, others already hitting out. Certainly Piers Morgan unhappy about this. The Brit Awards have announced they're going to abolish male and female categories in order to be, they say, as inclusive as possible. So from next year, instead of having the best male and the best female solo artist, they're going to have a single prize for Artist of the Year. What do you think about that?
Well, it's why we created separate male and female categories in the first place. What's changed? We created them to make sure that both sexes had a fair representation. Now, nothing's changed as far as I can see. Those issues are still there, but we're in the situation now where some male people and some female people identify as non-binary. Well, they can still be included in the Brit Awards because they still have a sex. But we're trying to pretend that biological sex doesn't exist, and we can all exist together in some wonderful inclusive group, some utopian society. Well, maybe that will be the case in utopia, but as we found out with the other story, we're a long way short of utopia in the country that we live in the society we live in.
Well, indeed, I'm not sure my utopia does involve there not being men and women. I mean, again, this is a very tiny, tiny, tiny minority of people who are welcome to live however they want and to identify themselves however they want, except where that conflicts with other people's rights. I mean, there is a perfectly reasonable argument. I mean, but the Sun has got Adele of a mess. So they're saying, you basically have, Adele going up against Ed Sheeran in one category, who's the best artist. I mean, I don't intrinsically have any problem with that. There's no difference to Adele going up against Dua Lipa. I mean, why should we have a different category there between male and female?
Well, it does. Having different categories ensures fair representation of both sexes. Why would
it be unfair? I mean, so if Ed Sheeran won, it would be unfair, and if Adele won, it would be fair.
Well, we'd perhaps want to look from over a period of 10 years. Would they then would one sex dominate over 10 years? Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd have a man 1 year and a woman the next, in which case you're back to where you were.
Oh, okay. Love it. Debbie Hayton, really good to talk to you. Talking a lot of sense. Journalist and science teacher there. Appreciate that, Debbie Hayton. 8:47 is the time. Up next, going to talk about the Royals at war with the BBC. Who else are the Royals going to be at war with? This is Talk Radio.
Online, on DAB and on the Talk Radio app. Talk Radio.